Hi Gen Bio, Dr. Fry here. We are looking at the Lancelet or Amphioxus in cross-section now. And this is the headmost region. So this would look a lot like figure 10 in your lab manual. And we can tell that it's the headmost region by the fact that there are all these particles here. These are the fragments of the buccal ceri, or the oral ceri. So those little tentacles we saw in the whole mount have obviously been kind of fragmented in the processing of the slide, but all of these little particles here, those are your oral ceri, okay? And they were attached, of course, through the oral hood, which is along here, okay? And of course, all along the outside, we have our epidermis layer. So I'm going to zoom in a little bit more for us to see some more detail. We're right now on the lowest magnification. I'm going to increase our magnification just a smidge so we can take a look at the other details on this section. Okay, so this is towards the dorsal side, and you can see all of these little muscle layers. This is one, this is another, here's a third, and so forth. These are called myomeres, and they are separated into sections by myosepta. So the little line here, that is called a myoseptum. All right, and so they're on both sides, present bilaterally. And then in the center, you can see this round, really round structure. That's the notochord, and that is a support structure for the Amphioxus. And then just behind that, you have the nerve cord, the dorsal nerve cord. Okay, and then just dorsal to that, you have a fin ray, which supports the dorsal fin. Okay. All right, so I think that's everything for this particular section. So I'm going to decrease our magnification again, and we're going to move to our next most rostral section, which looks like this. So this should look, this is sort of in between the two sections on page 23 in your lab manual. It's not as anterior as figure 10, but not as posterior as figure 11. Okay, so we'll get to figure 11 next. But this is a transition cut, so you should be familiar with what it looks like. This nice round structure here in the middle is the pharynx, and it's now in place of where our oral cavity, our buccal cavity, was in the last slice. Okay, so the pharynx has taken shape, and of course all of these little structures are our gill bars and gill slits. Okay, right here, gill bar, gill slit. Okay, and if we move along the midline back towards the dorsal side, we still have a nice round notochord, nerve cord, our dorsal fin, and on both sides we've got our myomeres and myosepta. Okay, so I think that's it for this one. Let's move to our next most caudal section. So this is sort of in the middle of the trunk. You can still see the pharynx here, okay, this space here, but it has obviously been compressed a little bit to make room for some other structures. So this structure here, this is the hepatic cecum, okay, and then you can see two similar structures. Here's one and one on the other side. These are the gonads, and in particular, these are ovaries. Okay, so we can tell this based on, if we examine them a little bit closer, we're going to be able to see eggs inside. So I'm going to zoom in just a minute to show you those in more detail. But first I'll just point out we still have our myomeres, myosepta. We've got our nice round notochord, dorsal nerve cord still here, dorsal fin still present here on the dorsal side. Okay. All right, so let's zoom in and take a look at our ovaries. And once more, so we can see that real clearly, and you can see inside here, look how nicely you can see the eggs developing inside the ovary. So this is absolutely a female, and I will show you the male to allow you to differentiate between the two in the next video. Okay. So we're gonna zoom back out and then move caudal, more caudally. Okay. So this is the next slice through the body of the Amphioxus, the next cross section, and it should look a lot like figure 12 in your lab manual. Okay, so of course we've got lots of myomeres, myosepta. We still have a nice round notochord and a dorsal nerve cord. And now in the abdominal region, we can see the intestine. Okay, so this is of course digestive function, processing of food. This is the intestine. It's gotten a little fragmented here just in processing of the slide, but it would be a tube, of course. And we can start to see our ventral fin forming here as well. Okay, so there's the ventral fin, the dorsal fin, and then I think there's one more. Here we go. One more slice through this organism. Still have the notochord, dorsal nerve cord running the whole length of the body, myomeres, myosepta, dorsal fin, and ventral fin. And that wraps up the cross sections for the Amphioxus or the Lancelet. If you have any questions, you can always shoot me an email, and I will post the next slide with the male counterpart.